Hey guys, it's about 4:30 in the morning right now. I'm in Duchesne County, Utah, kind of in the middle of nowhere. And check out the sign behind me. Strawberry Pinnacles is off in the distance, and that is where we just wrapped up a shoot with a world famous nighttime sky photographer. His name is Royce Bear, super nice guy, and he is showing us an exclusive how to do your own nighttime sky photography. He also tells us about his experience and his, 500,000 followers on Instagram. He's such a nice guy. I also talked to him about what he thinks about Starlink, so let's get into it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Humans have long been enamored with the night sky. When you get away from the bright lights of the city and you look up and gaze at the stars, you feel inspired. But aside from viewing it with your naked eye, what does it take to actually get a picture of the night sky? Well, first of all, a good attitude, because you're gonna have to stay up pretty late, or should I say early. We met Royce on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere to basically follow him to an even more remote location in the middle of nowhere.
Can they ride with you? Spencer,
Can I sit in the bed?
What's that?
Can we sit in the bed?
Yes. Yeah. Let's bet him.
I wanted to get a better idea of how nighttime photography, how he gets these amazing shots, and it's about 2 in the morning.
We needed to get there early so that we had time to set up for our shoot that we were aiming to do from a window of about 4 to 4:30 in the morning.
Absolutely beautiful, and these pinnacles, this is a really cool place. It's campground here. We have permission to be here, but it makes me think I should come camp here too. Tell me like the timeline, because right now it's about what, 2?
2 o'clock.
And
yeah.
so what is our morning looking like?
Well, we hope it's going to be good. I'm worried about thin clouds. I don't think we're going to have any overcast, but we are going to have some thin clouds. So it might obscure it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And we're looking to shoot the Milky Way this morning, right?
We are looking to shoot the Milky Way at about between 3:30 and 4:30 a.m.
Why is that? Like, how do you get to that conclusion? I mean,
we use a couple of apps. We use Photo Pills and we use Sky Guide. We can actually see where the Milky Way is going to be at this exact location. Does the geo coordinates, and then we just we rotate the app to the time when we watch the Milky Way come from a very horizontal position at this time of the year. This time of the year, it's lying very horizontal. Mm-hmm. The core is lying very horizontal. A lot of people talk about Milky Way season. The Milky Way is throughout the whole year. You can see it the whole year, but you can't see the brightest part, which is the galaxy. I'm going to shut off this light so we're not glaring people.
Smart.
So the core of the Milky Way starts to come above the horizon around the first or middle of March.
Okay.
And
here we are on March 25th, March 26th now.
Yeah. And so it's starting to come up. Our only problem today is we chose today because tomorrow it's going to be cloudy. Mm-hmm. And it would have been better tomorrow because we'd have another half hour because the moon, a crescent moon, is going to be coming right underneath it, right directly underneath the core at 4:29. That's how exact you can get this. Yeah. So if we wait a little bit, we can see the crescent moon come up under the core, the galactic core.
Whoa.
That's what we're talking about, the galactic center.
How long have you been doing this?
About 10 years. This type of photography, astral landscape is what it's called. We call it nightscape for short. You know, the starry night sky and the landscape foreground. So we call them landscapes. But technical term is astral landscape. So you've got astronomy, the starry night sky, and a landscape foreground.
Okay. And what got you into it? I mean,
Well, I've been doing magazine photography for 30 years. show my
we'll
age.
edit that 20 years ago.
Yeah, you're right.
30 years, okay.
So I've been doing magazine photography for 30 years, and the last 10 years, I have kind of a philosophy to reinvent myself every 5 years. Try to do something a little bit more unique and different, and I'm overdue for a change. So about 10 years ago, I started doing astro landscape photography. About 6-7 years ago, I started doing what is called low-level landscape lighting. So we use a very low level of light to light the foreground features. The light matches quarter moonlight. So the amount of light that hits the landscape from a quarter moon, we never go brighter than that.
Wow.
So that's very dim light.
Yeah.
So we can get the stars and the foreground, the landscape foreground, all in one exposure.
Wow.
We don't have to do any of this Photoshop manipulation.
Wow.
It can all be in one shot. The landscape, the low-level landscape lighting, we call it LLL for short, triple L, is on during all of your photography. So you can have a group of people and they can all go shoot away. And so you can use it for stacking and tracking and also time lapse. So you can do, like a 4-hour time lapse and have that light on during the whole time. Like this light right here that I'm getting ready to use is at only 5%.
Wow.
And we'll leave it on during the whole time, so it can run for several hours. Except last month we were using it here and it only lasted for about an hour because it was so cold. It was almost 0 degrees.
Oh, wow.
And the lithium
dedication.
batteries just don't hold up well in the cold. We should have brought a little hand warmer and elastic band or duct taped it to it, gaffer tape.
So what drew you into this? I mean, not everyone necessarily wants to be up at these hours in the cold, and I mean, maybe some do.
There are a lot of people that love to do astronomy. They like to get away from the city, and there are amateur astronomers. They take their telescopes out, a lot of groups and clubs, and once they see the constellations and things and nebula in those telescopes, I mean, it's over. They've got to go spend $3,000 or $4,000 and do that. So we're combining that love of the stars, of astronomy, with the beauty of the earth. So we bring the two together. I think it's more intimate. You can only crop the stars and the nebula so many different ways, but there's infinite possibilities when you include the earth.
Yeah, I love it.
The earthly features.
Yeah.
So
we want to show people the process so that if you at home want to do this yourself, you maybe have a better idea. Because we're learning from a pro. Like, this is honestly free advice that shouldn't be free. Well, what do we need to do now to set up?
Well, we're going to carry a light up the hill.
All right.
And then we're going to put another one down here.
Let's do it.
Okay. I need to grab a sandbag just in case.
Just in case the wind picks up.
Yep. Boy, I think this is going to be a little bit easier than last time. What do you think?
Last time they were there, this same steep path was covered with snow and ice. So I didn't wear the best shoes for this, and I did end up turning around. I was wearing Uggs because, hello, it was cold outside. And so I'm usually up for the challenge, but I figured this one wasn't worth it at 2 a.m. But my photographer Spencer did not shy away from the challenge, so he was able to get some footage with Royce up on the hill as they were lighting the first feature.
Light stand has one leg that you can adjust to make it longer than the other two. As you can imagine, that really comes in handy
Yeah.
on uneven surfaces like this.
When it comes down to where to place it, what do you look for?
Well, I'm trying to hide it from our view, and then I'm going to feather it. Okay, let's see that sandbag, Robert.
And how high does that go?
Oh, this is a little light stand. It'll only go 6 feet, 7 feet high. Feather, it means I angle it so that the center of the light is at the top. I've got a pinnacle over here that's higher than us, and I'm going to aim the center of this light, the top of that pinnacle, because if I go straight on, the bottom of the pinnacle will get more light than the top of the pinnacle.
Right.
And I'm also going to feather it a little bit to the right so that it wraps around. Also because this stupid light will not go down to 1%. I'd like it to be at about 2 or 3% intensity because I don't need very much light. So in a minute, I'm going to have you shut off your light so I can judge the intensity.
Yeah.
So I'm feathering the light, the center of it, off to the right and towards the top of the feature that I'm photographing. That's called feathering. That gives it a more even illumination.
Yeah. Let me get one shot.
Okay.
From up here, you can see how tall that really is.
Yeah. So we're using this mountain as a scrim. You know what a scrim is? It's something that blocks the light.
Yeah.
So we're hiding behind this to light a pinnacle that's behind you.
Yeah.
Okie dokie.
And even though that's just a tiny light, that's enough.
That's enough. Because remember, we're trying to simulate the light of a quarter moon light hitting that pinnacle behind you. Now, there are 5 national parks right now out of 63 that do not allow this kind of lighting. They do not even allow any kind of artificial lighting.
Wow.
So Arches, Canyonlands, Capitol Reef, Zions, and Grand Teton do not allow any form of artificial lighting. Even our low-level lighting, which is very unobtrusive. Oh yeah. Okay, we've got to put up one more light, and that's to light this pinnacle.
Our barred spiral galaxy, the Milky Way, is 13.6 billion years and counting. So how big is it? It's 100,000 light years across, and its rotation time is about 250 million years. And get this, there are about 200 billion stars. And everything on Earth is made of the remnants of stars. On Brilliant, you can take the Life Cycle of Stars course and find out how stars consume matter as they live and die. The best way to learn anything is by doing it yourself. You can learn interactively with Brilliant's fun, hands-on lessons in math, science, and computer science. And interactive learning helps you learn 6 times more effectively than watching a boring lecture video. And why don't you get started for free and join millions of people already learning on Brilliant with this special offer? Go to brilliant.org/EllieInSpace to get started for free with these interactive lessons. And hey, the first 200 listeners will also get 20% off an annual membership.
This is the key light. You're right. Both of these are kind of the key lights on this one because we've got 2 pinnacles. And then we usually use an accent light go behind. So both of these, I would say both of these are almost accent lights. Yeah. So we usually, in most photography, we use a key light and then a fill light. And then we use omnidirectional accent lights. Omnidirectional meaning that it'll shine about 180 degrees or more.
So do you usually get here around 1:15, or were we early because of the interview? Like, cause what time do you like?
Yeah, we could have probably done this starting at 2:30, but we tried to be nice to you.
No, we appreciate it. How long? I mean, you don't really have all that much time for the actual photography.
Yeah, we're only going to take half hour for the photography.
That's nuts to think, like, all of this setup time for half an hour of a window. I mean, how long did it take you to realize like it needed this much setup to get that perfect photo?
It didn't take very long before you figured that out, let me tell you. Okay.
Are you using the horse blanket tonight?
Yes,
Yeah?
that will be next.
Okay. Oh,
The
we
horse
can't-
blanket will be next.
I hear a horse blanket is the #1 tool to have for any nighttime astrophotography, right?
Yeah, either that or a rifle to shoot out the lights. You're going to edit that out, I hope.
I don't know. That's pretty
That
funny.
sounds pretty good, doesn't
Does
it?
that come from experience? Let me ask.
We usually don't have too many incidents where we have to,
Yeah, manipulate your surroundings to
Yes.
work for you.
I love seeing the pictures on my screen, getting the final thing for a print. But I have guys that have gone out with me for years that have not ever printed a picture.
What is it about?
They just love shooting the Milky Way with, a nighttime landscape foreground. And they...
What is it about? Why does printing a photo? And I know the answer to this, but for those out there that want to know, what is it about printing a photo that gives you that extra satisfaction?
Well, to be able to put a big print on your wall. I learned years ago that, let's say a typical workshop costs somebody about $1,500, $2,000 to go out for 4 or 5 days, okay? And let me shut my light off. So, they go out for about 4 or 5 days and we teach them. And, most of that is at night and we do some classroom instruction. So let's say I charge them $2,000 for 5 days of instruction, and they get at least several good pictures to put on their wall, okay? Now they could buy that same picture from me for maybe $500 to put on their wall and save $1,500.
Yeah.
But there's a pride issue of being able to print that and put it on the wall and say to their friends, I took that.
Yes.
Don't you
Yes.
think so?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of, this is, I like this guy's work, so it's
Yeah.
in my home.
Yeah.
No, I took that.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. So I learned a long time ago that they'll spend 4 times as much to learn how to take the picture themselves than buy one of mine.
How
So-
many students have you had?
Over the years, probably about 250.
Okay.
And then I've had some that have gone on 10 workshops.
Wow.
So
So is the Milky Way your jam?
it's the main draw.
Yeah.
It's the jam.
Yeah.
We shoot other things too in the daytime, and we shoot star constellations, but it's the Milky Way is the big draw,
Yeah.
especially the core of the Milky Way,
Yeah.
the galactic center.
Cool.
Let's go put this light up.
Let's do it.
Okay, so this is to light the other pinnacle. Okay, remember what I talked about feathering? So I'm aiming that light clear up to the top of that pinnacle. Okay, so we've got the other one lit right over here. And now we're going to light this one with just about that much light.
It is
Not very
nothing.
much. Yeah, it's almost nothing.
That's all it takes, huh?
Yeah.
This is a rescheduled adventure. We were originally supposed to go probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it would have been so much colder. And yes, Ellie in space is cold. I don't know if you can tell. But no, it's actually, it's really pretty favorable conditions tonight. So we just set up the key light and the fill light, and we're approaching that window. We still have a little bit of time, but this is really cool to see the whole process. And Royce is so nice. I'm so glad that we connected. My gosh, no way. That's so funny. That is a tall light.
So covering this giant light proved to be the greatest obstacle by far of our entire adventure. Royce has permission to shoot photos on this campground, which doesn't open for another month, but they were not able to find an easy fix to turning off this light. So last time they were there, they covered it with this blanket that you see.
So I'll go get my duct tape. We tried gaffer tape before, and it was so cold, the stickum. It released halfway through.
But on this night, it was much windier, which made not only getting the blanket on the light nearly impossible, but keeping it on was also a major struggle.
Not only moral support, but physical support.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, that's much easier.
Clearly, this is way harder than the actual photography.
I mean, that's true, right? This is way harder than...
Yeah, the hardest thing tonight is getting this light covered with this moving blanket. You sleep during the day?
Yeah, I do. When we do our workshops, we try to get back by about 2 or 3. In the summertime, you can get back by, 1 or 2 in the morning, and then sleep until about 10 o'clock, and then start it all over again. Oh. I think
It might last for a little bit.
yeah.
There we
Let's
go.
give her a try.
Okay, coming down to you, Royce.
Here we go.
Mostly done.
That lighting is not even. So can you see that the pillar on the left is much brighter than the one on the right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to climb up to that first one and put a different light. I was worried that that one light might be too strong, and it is. So we'll take a test
So
picture.
which one are you changing?
The one, I'm going to change them both a little bit. I'm going to increase the intensity on the one to the right and decrease the intensity on the one on the left.
So when's your deadline? When do you actually have
Okay,
to...
it's 3:15 right now. And can you see that question mark right over there?
Yeah, actually.
That's Scorpio
Okay.
and Sagittarius over there. That's where, right near that is the core of the Milky Way. It's coming up right underneath it. There's the Dark Horse Nebula right there. And then at the end of that is Antares, that yellow star right there, that bright star. We're trying to get rid of the light pollution.
So do we got to go fix that right now?
Somebody's got to.
Yeah, I mean...
It might as well be
Me?
Yeah, let's have you do it.
Yeah.
That's the price you get for coming out here.
Yeah,
You know, I am a climber, but I don't think I can climb that
I don't
thing.
think you can either. You see how bright this one is?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's way too bright.
What about the other one?
The other one's just fine.
So we just got to change the one on the road?
Yeah, no, the one on the road is right.
Oh.
The other one is too bright, so I've got to dim it down. I think that one's about right, don't you?
Yeah, the one on the right's right. The one on the left's a little bit too
Yeah. Do you think we should change the color temperature just a little warmer, or do you like it the way it
bright. I
is?
like where it's at.
Yeah, I'll just knock that other one halfway down. I'm using a geared head, and so, a ball head is really nice, but a geared head, if I say, oh, that composition needs just a little bit more to the right and up a little bit, with a ball head you loosen it, and then you have no idea how much to adjust it.
Yeah.
With a geared head, I just go click, 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 click. So it adds more weight, but it makes for... So see how off I am on the level? I don't care. It's what the final composition looks like. Now I'm shooting with a 15, a 20, and a 20 millimeter would have been just about fine for that. I'd crop in a little bit more, and I'd like it better. For right now, if I was shooting it right now, get a little bit more crop. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to a 24 millimeter and put it in the vertical or portrait position. And then I'm going to do a panorama.
Ooh.
Well, we hope it stays on for a few more shots.
Yeah. So this has been just the problem all night, all morning really, is getting this light covered. They have been trying to put that blanket over the light. If you can't tell, the light's pretty high up there, and so we were able to get a few shots. The blanket came off, the wind picked up, and now we might not be able to get those really amazing core shots at 4:29. We're running out of time, so this is where we cue the dramatic reality TV music, because it's starting to feel like that.
Do you go out here and shoot every night? Well, there's only about 5 to 7 nights when there's no moon interference, and then about that many more where we can get maybe an hour or two and shoot. And then you add the weather, and we're lucky to get 3 or 4 nights a month.
Wow.
That are really good. So you cherish, in the daytime, you want a certain amount of clouds in your picture because they add interest.
Right.
But at night,
Yeah.
I want to see the stars.
Yeah.
So I don't want the clouds.
Yeah.
It's amazing what you can do with video light stands and gaffer's tape. In this case, duct tape.
This is so included in the course.
Yeah, does it come included in the course teaching how to do this?
This is extra.
Yeah.
There's some trade secrets we don't let go.
Yeah, so that's a horse blanket we're using to drape over the light. It will provide enough blocking for, whoops.
Let me see if I can just drape it a little bit better.
Okay. Because we don't care about the light here on the foreground. Yeah, I think that's going to work.
All right.
Yeah, because it only goes out to here.
Royce, you're one of the most positive people I've ever met. Like, seriously, some people get all disgruntled and kind of upset right now. How are you so positive?
Well, you work with people. If you've got 6 other people in the group, there's always somebody that's grumpy.
Yeah.
And you have to diffuse that. You learn how to diffuse it very quickly.
Yeah.
And that means being patient.
Yeah, you're very patient.
So
No, it's very admirable.
we're gonna call it a night.
All right.
How's that sound?
That's all right. You tried. It was a valiant effort.
We've got some good shots and enough for what we need.
Yeah.
The Milky Way core would look a little bit better in 15 minutes, but it's not a big deal.
There are some things that are out of your control, like the wind. Like the wind.
Yeah.
Well, Royce, thank you for showing us everything, teaching us.
Well, you're welcome, and I hope you had a good night. Fun
Absolutely.
experience. Spencer, I'll tell you something. I did a lot of model photography in the early days. You do everything. When I first got into the business, I even did some weddings.
We all do it. Yeah. We all have done the wedding.
It's really interesting. Back when I did weddings, there were probably about 20 professional male photographers in the valley and 1 female.
Wow.
And now it's just the opposite.
Yeah.
And it's because women are such good social people. They work better with the brides, especially the mother of the bride.
Yeah.
And they're good on the social media, a lot better than most men are. But when I was doing model photography, I noticed that, and I did a lot of study on facial features and balance and stuff. Like, you can take a picture straight on, and then in the dark room you can flip that and take half of the right side, and duplicate it, put it on the other, and see how the face is totally different on the one side of the face.
Wow.
And but what is striking is that an eyes of a female model, the further apart they are in distance, the more attractive they are.
Really?
Yeah, to the human brain.
Yeah.
And your eyes are really far apart.
Oh no, that means like I'm a prey animal.
Oh.
Yeah, that makes you more attractive.
That makes me think I'm a cow and I can't see what's coming.
Yeah,
You tried.
Yeah, I tried. I was trying to compliment her on her facial structure, and
Is
it
that
completely
really true? Is
yeah.
that what you
Yeah.
noticed about my structure?
Yeah, that
Wow.
your eyes are really far apart.
Wow,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
I definitely appreciated Royce's compliment, although I didn't see it as a compliment in the moment. It was after 4 a.m, so I was a little bit out of it. But let's get to the moment I'm sure you've all been waiting for. What the heck did the pictures look like that we took? So check out the finished product. Here are some of the images from our photo shoot on Saturday, March 26th. This first image was taken before the galactic core or center, the brightest part of the Milky Way, had risen above the horizon. And then the second image was taken about 20 minutes later and shows the yellowish core about to clear the horizon. The third image was taken just a moment later with the sodium vapor security light on, and this just demonstrates how light pollution affects the view of the stars and the surrounding landscape. This fourth image you see is actually a close-up crop of the second image, and it's focusing on the core and the Dark Horse Nebula. And this image is a tracked telephoto shot that Royce took on an earlier night of the same Dark Horse Nebula, showing the beautiful detail in the Rho Ophiuchi cloud complex. I love Royce's page because he frequently showcases other photographers' work on his page that has almost 500,000 followers, all with a shared love of the night sky.
Is that like crazy to you?
It's built up over a few years. I think it took 4 or 5 years to get that many followers.
That's a lot though.
Yeah. It's kind of neat. When I first started to do it about 10 years ago, and you show a Milky Way sky with a landscape foreground, it was just like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. This isn't real, is it? This is Photoshop. No, this is real. But they're starting to get, how many people would you guess there are out there in the world right now doing this type of stuff? I'd say a couple of thousand, wouldn't you? Yeah. At least a couple of thousand people that are doing this. And so I've got a lot of fodder to draw from.
But were you kind of one of the pioneers of this idea?
I wasn't the first person to use the name Nightscape, but I was probably one of the ones to make it more famous. I wrote a book called Milky Way Nightscapes about, 6-7 years ago, and so that helped quite a bit.
Wow. What is your advice to people that have no background, no idea where to start, that they want to try it?
You can do things. There are even cell phones, iPhones, that can actually. I think there's the Google Pixel, and some of the Galaxies now can actually take starry night skies, can photograph the Milky Way, can actually do that with a device,
Crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. When I was promoting my ebook, about 5 years ago, and going from television station to big city, they would always interview me. Now I can do this with my iPhone, can I? No, you can't.
But now you.
But now you can.
But is it even like?
It's not as good.
No.
It's not as good.
And
but
you can't make a big poster out of it
no, no. And the phones use a stacking technique where they take a whole bunch of pictures and stack them together. And so it's not as good as some of the methods we're using with mirrorless and DSL cameras, especially full frame. When we say full frame, it has a sensor that is about 1 by 1.5 inch, whereas the sensor on your cell phone is about the size of your little fingernail.
Oh wow.
So size does matter when it comes to that, because it's about gathering the amount of light. So almost any good mirrorless camera or DSL, even an old used one, you can spend $300 or $400 and get a used camera that's, you know, within 4 or 5, 6 years. And then get a fast lens. By fast, we mean big aperture, like 2.8, f2, so on, so forth. Once you start getting an f4, it doesn't collect as much light. So you use, and a wide angle lens is better than a normal, so, you know, 28, 24, so on. And then a sturdy tripod. And then the little formula is that you can get almost anything is f2.8, 30 seconds, and an ISO of 6400, 6400. Now that just sounds terrible, and it'll make your picture pretty noisy, but you will get an awesome Milky Way. Now the stars will be trailing a little bit, but it'll still be an amazing picture that you can blow up to about 11 by 14. Put on your living room, bedroom wall.
Wow.
So how do you, when you have that much grain in your photo and that much noise, what do you do to help that?
Aha! So once you do that formula, f2.8, 30 seconds, and ISO 6400, you're going to get a really amazing picture, but it's got flaws. Okay, the noisiness, the stars are still moving a little bit, so optimally you want to get down to maybe about 15 seconds, half that time. That means that you've got to even do faster ISO to compensate for that. By the way, so you'll understand that ISO is the sensitivity of the sensor. Your cell phone typically shoots at between 100 and 400 ISO. So when we go to 6,400, I mean, that's huge. And the higher it goes, it gets noisier. So we use special things to eliminate that noise. Software that'll help eliminate that noise. We do stacking. And astronomers have been using this on their telescopes for dozens of years. We take about 10, 15, maybe even 20 pictures real fast at that 15 seconds and use a software that aligns the stars, and there's a filter in that stacking that averages the noise. Every picture has a different noise pattern. So the more pictures you shoot, up to a certain extent, there's a law of diminishing return where it doesn't help much. But, you know, shoot 10 shots really fast, as fast as they'll write to your memory card, and then use the software to align the stars together. And it averages the noise patterns in between, and it's smooth as a baby's bum. The sky.
What's it called, the software?
There's two softwares out there. One for the Windows, which is called Sequator, and one for Mac, which is called Starry Landscape Stacker.
Okay.
The Sequator is free. The Starry Landscape Stacker is about $40, but well worth it. What these two programs do, okay, so it aligns the stars, and that's a big, there's a lot of technology that goes on there because the stars in the center of your picture are moving differently than the stars to the sides because of the parallax. Does that make any sense? Parallax. Okay? And so it has to align all the stars, not just the ones in the middle. Then, remember, the Earth is not moving. So as it goes to, in other words, the earthly foreground is not moving.
Yeah.
Okay? So it aligns your stars, but then it's got to compensate for the fact that when it moves each star to align it up, that causes the Earth to move. So it separates those two, stacks the stars separately and the Earth separately, and then puts them back together again.
Wow.
So it's pretty amazing, and it does this in just a few seconds.
How long has that been part of your toolbox?
Probably the last 5 or 6 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then there's tracking, where you have a small equatorial mount that they use on telescopes. They have the big 30, 40-pound ones that are run by a 12-volt battery on the telescopes, the amateur telescopes. They have little ones that as big as your fist now that'll hold your camera. You align the tracker with an optical device onto the North Star.
Wow.
So you align it to the North Star, and then you put your camera on the tracker, and a clock mechanism rotates the camera and lens with the rotation of the Earth to keep the stars from blurring.
Wow.
Okay? But then you have to take a second exposure with the tracker off to get the foreground. And then you do have to use Photoshop to blend the two images together. So, but we don't call that a composite because it's from the same tripod location.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, we have these little technical terms.
Yeah.
It's not a composite if it's from the same tripod location.
That's funny.
So I do want to talk about Starlink at some point.
Starlink.
Starlink, you ever heard of it?
Oh, yes.
You know, I saw your comment on my recent video about Ukraine and, you know, it being used there. And so you must have kind of mixed feelings about
I do
the
have
whole
mixed
thing.
feelings. You know, I think Elon Musk is a wonderful man and he's doing some great things. Some of the astronomers are really upset because it's polluting the sky. You've got to realize, though, that that most of that light pollution you see is in the beginning low orbit state. And as the technology, remember they only have what, 2,000 or 3,000, maybe 4,000. They're eventually going to
2,000.
have like what, 60,000 or something up there?
Maybe 42,000.
42,000.
But they're not the only one. That's the thing.
That's right,
There's
there are
other
others.
companies and other countries
that are
Yeah.
doing it. You want the heat shields to protect the satellite, but you don't want them to reflect light back to the Earth. You don't want the solar panels to reflect light back to the Earth. They're working on that technology. It's getting better now than originally, but most of the light pollution you see where they're reflecting back in Earth is in the beginning low orbit states when they're deploying them.
Yeah.
Yeah, as they spread out, they don't, and get into their proper orbits, they don't reflect back as much light. And that light, remember, they're streaking across the Earth very fast.
Yeah.
And
Very temporary.
yeah, and the stars they don't look like they're moving, but they are.
Yeah.
Well, the Earth is moving. So some of our astro landscape photographers have taken some pretty dramatic pictures of groups of Starlink streaking around the Earth, and oh, it just looks terrible. But you've got to realize that that's in the early deployment.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's going to be as big a problem as we think it is. There are a lot of benefits that come from that.
I was going to say, has your opinion changed with, I mean, the Ukraine invasion even?
Yeah. I mean, the good that the Starlink is doing to help them communicate is a very good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So. Oh boy, let's get into politics.
No. I know that, like, you know, astronomers that I'm friends with, they're worried about the light pollution too. And we have, is it Dark Sky coming up?
Yeah.
It's like a conference, right?
Yes, there are several conferences, but there is IDA, International Dark Sky Association, is very concerned about it. There are other astronomer conferences that are coming up that are concerned about it. Yeah.
Are you less concerned because this is more for like photography versus like science, or?
I don't know. It remains to be seen how they can change the technology to make it better.
Right. Right.
And It's doing a lot. It's going to do a lot of good
Right.
for places in the world that don't have the internet.
Have you noticed it affect your photography as of yet?
It has affected my photography, but let's say I'm doing a stack, okay? I do a stack of 15 shots, and I'll have a group of the Starlink satellites that'll be in 1 or 2 pictures. Well, when you stack all 15 together, the Starlinks go away
Yeah.
because they are only 1/15 of the
Right.
whole exposure. So basically that's somewhat the same thing for astronomers too, because they're doing long tracked exposures and stacking as well. They don't have to worry about the foreground.
Right, right.
So they use different stacking programs because once they get that mount accurately on an equatorial mount, they don't have to worry about starlight alignment. It stays there.
Yeah.
So they can just stack, stack, stack. And of course the Starlinks are whizzing through their pictures, and they'll often do 30, 40, 50, 60 stacks. And if Starlink is only in a couple of them, big deal.
What do you wish you could tell yourself 10 years ago when you were starting with all the knowledge that you have now?
Wow, I wish I could go and redo some of my early pictures because they're terrible as I look at them compared to now.
Of course they are.
Yeah.
But that
They're
makes
yeah.
makes you learn, right?
Oh, yeah. But, you know, the first time I got the Milky Way in, you know, on my camera, on my sensor, I'm going, oh my goodness, that is amazing. And of course, to go out I teach workshops, and when people go out for the first time, oh, it's just so much fun to see the expression on their face and feel their enthusiasm. And you know what? That enthusiasm never goes away.
You mentioned Photoshop. There's a lot of people that, you know, will put a fake night sky over the, you know, nicely taken picture of a rock formation, but that they're not skilled enough to get that amazing photo. You know, what is the difference between, you know, a poorly photoshopped image that I think people try to pass off as this beautiful photography versus what
That
you've
is,
done?
you know, I run an Instagram site that has about 500,000 followers, and I try to feature somebody new every day.
Yeah.
Feature myself maybe once a week or every other week, and then I feature other people, and I give an award. You know, it's the Nightscaper Award, la la la, and they get an honorable mention if they don't list how they took the picture, because then it's suspicious how they did it. If they list how they took it, you know, I stacked it, I tracked it, I blended it. A blend is where they will photograph the foreground in the twilight, where you've got a little bit more light, and then wait until the stars get deep enough and strong enough, and take a second exposure for the stars without moving the tripod and blend them together. So we allow things like that, and we allow composites as well, where you shoot the foreground on one night and shoot the stars on another night. Let's say, for instance, we got clouds.
Yeah.
And so the next night you shot the
Right.
stars. But you align them in the correct position. What happens in a lot of photography that fake, we see it, is that they may be facing north. This is north right now where we are. They're facing north at this beautiful landscape feature. The core of the Milky Way is south, and they'll combine those two together. It is not possible. It never happens in
Dead
their
giveaway.
lifetime. Yeah, so it's totally fake, and people who know the location and what direction it faces. Now, here in the Northern Hemisphere, in the spring, the Milky Way starts coming up in the southeast, the core does. And by fall, it's setting and it's becoming very vertical. It's setting in the southwest, almost in the west. So it travels quite a bit during the year, and it travels about 15 degrees every hour as well.
Wow.
So it's rotating. The Earth is rotating.
Oh, hey.
Yeah,
What?
it's not the so, but
Wait a minute, I thought the Earth was at the center of the universe.
that's right. Flat Earth.
Yeah.
I was going to say, tell me if I need to change something. And tell me if you can see the sign, baby. So I can ask you a few questions right now?
Yeah,
Okay.
Fire away.
Is this the best place to do it? I mean, yeah, it's dark.
it's dark
What a
everywhere we
yeah,
go.
Yeah, what a dumb question. Hey, it's early.
Is it Elena?
Eliana.
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 Eliana Sheriff, yep.
Whose decision was that? Your mother or your father, or was it shared?
What, Eliana?
Yeah,
It was shared.
yeah.
Yeah, my grandma's name is Eleanor, but they thought that was too old-fashioned.
Yes.
So they wanted to kind of do something with that, and then they had a friend named Ariana, so they put the two together. Eliana. And it's actually a Hebrew name. I'm not Jewish, but it's Hebrew, and it means God has answered. So, you know, I am adopted. They were trying to have a child for like a year. That didn't work out. Then they got me, you know, as an adoption. So maybe
Yeah.
God did answer for them.
Maybe so.